All right, so let's start with the big story that we're tracking on WION at this hour. And this, of course, comes in from the state of New York in the United States, which has now recorded more number of cases than any other country in the world. Now, the United States is currently grappling with what could be the country's hardest week of the coronavirus pandemic. And New York has recorded its deadliest day of the pandemic again, with 799 fatalities linked to the COVID-19 infection in just the last 24 hours. However, the rate of hospitalization in the city has witnessed a sharp drop, whereas New York accounts for nearly about half the total death toll in the country. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo has compared this tragedy to be worse than what happened in 9/11.
9/11 was so devastating, so tragic, and then in many ways, we lose so many more New Yorkers to this silent killer. There was no explosion, but it was a silent explosion that just ripples through society with the same randomness, the same evil that we saw on 9/11.
And also what's interesting is that New York's death toll data now shows that people predominantly from the minority communities are actually dying at a disproportionate rate. Now, the Hispanic and the African American community comprises a majority of those who have lost their lives to the COVID-19 infections. New York has decided to conduct more testing in the African American and the Latino communities, opening up new testing sites primarily in those areas that are dominated by these communities. And also, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has also warned that restrictions in New York could continue until the month of June. And landmarks across the state were lit up in the color blue to support all healthcare workers who are on the front lines of battling COVID-19. Now, the New York State is also burying its dead on the Hart Island. Now, on your screens are the visuals of workers in hazmat suits burying several coffins in what is being described as a mass grave. Nearly about 25 bodies have been buried every day on the island, which sits just off the east shore of the city's Bronx borough and is accessible only by boat. And also, the United States economy is reeling under the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The rate of unemployment is also rising at an unprecedented rate. Now, recent data shows that more than 17 million people, that is 17 million people, have lost their jobs since the middle of March. That's just in the last 25 days. And this is the biggest job loss in the country that's been reported in over a century. However, President Donald Trump continues to believe that the United States economy is actually going to do really well and will bounce back as soon as the United States has been able to put the pandemic behind it.
Well, I think the economy is going to do very well. Now, that's just my feeling. It's a strong feeling. I've had good, proper feelings about a lot of things over the years, and I think we're going to do well. It looks like we're at the lower end of the curve in terms of death, which is a terrible word, a terrible dark word that we've experienced like nobody's ever seen before in this country.
Meanwhile, U.S. hospitals are also using plasma from the bodies of those patients who managed to recover from the COVID-19 infection to treat people who have got infected with coronavirus. The people who've managed to survive the COVID-19 infection are left with plasma in their blood that has antibodies and other proteins made by the body's immune system that has the potential to fight off the virus. It's not a simple process. It's a lot more complicated than that, but this is something that is being attempted. The blood component called the convalescent plasma is given to the newly infected patients. This treatment has proven to be successful even during the 1918 flu pandemic as well. And also for more on this, our correspondent Jagrati Dave has been tracking the developments very closely for us from Washington, D.C.